We live in an age when reading is encouraged at all times. Despite the emergence of digital tools, the practice of reading physical books has become a part of the daily lives of many. This trend is expected to grow over the next few years. If you read regularly, you'll probably remember many of the novels and keep some books in your personal library. However, some books are considered extremely dangerous and harmful to their readers, and some are banned in certain countries. Others, mainly for their content, can have psychological effects on the reader. In the 19th and 20th centuries, some authors were extremely controversial. In today's video, I'll show you some of the books considered the most dangerous in history. Would you dare to read them? I'm Stelian Edgar, and this is Fear the Weird. Do you believe there's more to life than what we are told? Do you have burning questions about hidden and controversial topics? Subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification to unravel the mysteries of life and the universe. Have you heard the saying, never judge a book by its cover? In fact, this saying usually applies to many scenarios. However, other books by their title alone already give us a good insight into their content. The first book to make our list is The Satanic Verses by British Indian writer Salman Rushdie. The fictional work speaks of two Muslim Indians who survived an airplane bombing. After the crash in England, one of them develops horns, hooves and a tail, and the other creates a ring of light that surrounds him. The title of the book makes reference to verses from the Quran, the holy book of Islam. The work is considered extremely offensive to the Prophet Muhammad. To give you an idea, after its publication in 1989, Iranian leader Ayatollah Khomeini made a statement ordering Rushdie's death. More than that, anyone who owned or became aware of its content would be sentenced to death. Rushdie, who in the book declares he no longer believes in religion, was forced to live in seclusion for a long time. You can understand why this book is so dangerous, right? Going back a few centuries, we have one of the most intriguing and mysterious stories of all time. First, we must meet a man who left a great legacy, one of the wisest men in history, John Dee. He was a mathematician, astronomer, geographer, astrologer, and also an advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. In addition to all these attributes, John Dee was a great occultist and dedicated a good part of his life to this type of study. He had the Book of Soiga in his possession, also titled Alderaya, a 16th century Latin thesis on magic, one copy of which was owned by Elizabethan scholar John Dee. John Dee believed that this book had been revealed by angels to its writer. During Dee's life, he and many experts at the time tried to decipher this strange book about magic that contains codes, images, and drawings that make no sense to us. After his death, the book simply disappeared from his extensive personal library. The book was thought to be lost until 1994, when two manuscripts were located in the British Library and the Bodleian Library under the title Alderaya Siv Soiga Volkor. Scholars are still trying to solve its mysteries, but what they have discovered so far is disturbingly complicated codes, spells, magicians, and astrology. The Book of Soiga contains names and genealogy of angels. John Dee spent most of his life trying to contact angelic beings and hoped this book would help him. And he claims that he asked the angel Uriel to help understand the Book of Soiga, however it was said that it could only be interpreted by Archangel Michael. Back in the 20th century, a controversial book entitled Mein Kampf, My Fight, was the most famous book by one of the most famous human beings to ever walk the earth, Adolf Hitler. Initially, the book was published in two editions, in 1925 and 1926, after Hitler was arrested for trying to organize a coup in Munich. But what does this book have to make it so harmful and dangerous? Well, if you know a little bit of history, you know about the brutalities committed during the Second World War, especially with regard to the massacre that Jewish people suffered. This book is a preview of Hitler's thoughts on anti-Semitism and racism, mainly towards the Jewish people, extremist ideas and the rise of Nazi Party. Mein Kampf became an ideological and action guide for the Nazis, and even today influences new Nazi groups, being called by some by the Nazi Bible. The main ideas of the book are exactly those that were later applied in Nazi Germany. Following this principle, another book that causes controversy is the Turner Diaries, written by William Pierce, which was reprinted several times over the years. The contents of this book concern a group of white men of Aryan race who, through an armed rebellion, overthrow the United States government, described in the book as totally dominated by Jews. This violent revolution aimed to eliminate black and non-Aryan people from Earth. According to the book, this would be done first in the United States and later worldwide. According to experts, this is the most widely read book among extremists who follow this ideological bias and may possibly have influenced Timothy James McVeigh, a former military man who bombed a building in Oklahoma in 1995, where 168 people were killed and another 600 were injured. For many, it is considered an encouraging book for its racist and totally extremist content. As we have seen so far, the definition of dangers can vary according to the work, and there are plenty of legends and stories about great books of magic, used by wizards and witches. The Grand Grimoire is an example of these works. The oldest copy of this book is dated 1522. However, it is believed that it was written years before by the High Dome of Magic that lived at the time. The content of this book goes beyond other similar books on this topic. The book teaches its readers to evoke Lucifer himself in order to make a pact with the ruler of hell. Manuscripts dating back to 1600s say that even Satanist leaders did not have the courage to use it because they knew they would be defeated. But then, what is the point of having so much power and not being able to use it? The book was sought after not for the most it could do, but for the least. In addition to evoking demons, it contains a large number of spells, formulas and secrets. Today we can find the Grand Grimoire in any specialized bookstore, but it is believed that the real grimoire was never shown to the public, and that is in the Vatican, having been collected by the Church since around the 18th century. And finally, one of the most controversial books of all time, especially with regard to its existence, known as the Necronomicon. This book, which was originally called Al-Azif, was written by Abdul Razred around 700s. This man was known as a crazy poet and had become famous for his intelligence, but also at the same time for doing crazy things, like how to spend isolated years in the desert. The author himself warns that reading the manuscripts can lead to madness, generate nightmares, and even horrible visions. According to researchers, the book gathers diverse knowledge from ancient codes to evocation and magic. It is believed that copies of this book were mostly lost, but that the original book still exists somewhere. Although reference to this book is found in several places, many claim that it's nothing more than an invention of the American writer Howard Phillips Lovecraft, author of horror stories. The first time Lovecraft mentioned the book, or the Crazy Arabic, was in 1921 in the short story The Nameless City. It was only years later that he released Necronomicon, which tells the story of the book. Besides Lovecraft, several authors talk about this topic. It cannot be said that it is real or a farce, but what has been written about it makes it one of the most dangerous readings in the world. According to websites specialized in the topic, these are some of the most dangerous books in history. Would you dare to read them? And this is all for today. Leave your comments below and subscribe for future videos. See you next time.